I suspected that I might have ADHD when a close family member was diagnosed, and I started to study it more in depth in efforts to be more of a support to that family member. And what I found, again, just characterized so much of the struggles that I had. Again, the stress, the anxiety, the procrastination, the difficulty in focusing, and the opposite side of that being hyper focused on activities and projects that I was really interested in to the detriment of everything else. So time management became an issue. Getting my work in on time became an issue. I had sleep disturbances. I was always tired, and I could never figure out why, besides not having enough restful sleep. And I was really emotionally drained a lot of the time. And even though I had tried different medications and different counseling methods, nothing really seemed to work. And what I learned is that ADHD really has a lot to do with how your brain functions, the executive functions in your brain. And it's not anything to be ashamed of. It's just a different way of being, a different way that your mind works. I obviously received my diagnosis of ADHD later in life, as many women do. And women are diagnosed less often than men or boys because boys tend to have the hyperactivity type of ADHD, which makes them a problem in the classroom, which makes them obvious. Whereas many women are diagnosed, as such as myself, with the inattentive type of ADHD. And often those symptoms are much subtler than they are in men. And you still have the same difficulties in terms of symptoms, like difficulty maintaining focus and concentration, missing deadlines, procrastination, losing things. So it's not the overt kinds of things that cause people to actually pay attention to the person, because we're not pillar to post, but the symptoms can be very debilitating. And FasTreat is a wonderful way to access services and support for ADHD, even if you're being diagnosed later in life. And once you're diagnosed, tends to start to make sense of a lot of things in your past, some of the decisions that you've made, some of the behaviors that you've exhibited, and it can bring life into perspective in many respects. So even at this age, I'm very happy to have finally made sense of some of the things that I was struggling with. And for me, medication has helped incredibly. It's not for everybody, but that's the practitioner and you can sort that out. Getting a diagnosis for ADHD in Ontario, unfortunately, is very difficult. And to wait for a psychiatrist who can prescribe medications can be anywhere between 18 and 24 months. That's what I was given. And I looked into a private psychologist, even though I have benefits through my work. It was a 4-month wait for someone who specialized in ADHD, and it was going to be between $3,000 and $5,000. And even then, once I had a diagnosis through a psychologist, psychologists aren't able to prescribe medications, which has helped me immeasurably. I was paired with a clinician where we went over the results of my assessment, and then we discussed the possibility of medications. I ended up on a very low dose of an ADHD medication. And since that time, over a number of months, we have modified some of that medication to be more effective. I was also prescribed a medication to help me sleep, which has helped dramatically because people do understand that if you're not sleeping well, it's very difficult to function during the day. So my treatment at FasTreat was a godsend. It has really helped me in terms of being able to focus on my work. I was at a point where I found it very difficult to even read a couple of pages in a textbook, which is incredibly important to my work as a professor. And I found it difficult to stay on task even in my lectures. I would find I would go off on tangents and very difficult to actually present the information in a way that I wanted to present to my students. And as I grew in my understanding of ADHD, I came to realize that I wasn't stupid and I wasn't lazy, and that my habit or need to spend extra time on material, on the same material that other people would just breeze through, was a result of my ADHD. The medication, again, as I mentioned, has been most beneficial to me in order to help me focus in my work. It's also improved my relationships within my family and even in my work with various departments that we work with, like our IT department. I find that I don't get as frustrated with tasks, and I'm more patient in my work and in my dealings with other people, which has really improved my whole entire work experience.